So let's implement static and non-static methods, or you can say static and instance methods. So what exactly is static and instance is? Let's suppose we have a variable here called as int I. So this variable here will be called as instance variable, or if you write here static, then this variable here will be called as a static variable. So you can see there is a change of font here. So all your static variables will change their font. If you remove the static, it will have a different font now. So if you write a static, it becomes a static variable. If you don't write a static, it becomes an instance variable. In the same way, if you write a method, so we'll say public void show. Now let's say in this show method, let me print it as system.out.println. Let me print here again hello world with some exclamation. So let's say in this show method I'm printing it's system.out.println hello world. Now in order to call this show, since we are not mentioning any static keyword here, this method becomes an instance method, or you can say non-static method. So how to call a non-static method? We can call obj equal to new abc, and then we can say it's obj.show. So the only way to call that show is by creating the object, or by, you can say, by instantiating the class. So in general, if you want to call an instance method, you require an instance of that instance of the class. In this case, it is obj, right? But what if I don't want to create an instance? Still I want to use that method, or still I want to call that method. So what we can do is we can call this method as static. So it is public static void show, which simply means non-static method, or sorry, static method. So this show becomes a static method, and we don't need a class, we don't need an object. We can simply use a class name. We can say abc.show. So you can see we are not creating the instance, we are directly using the class name to call that show. And if I run this now, run as Java application, and the output you will see is hello world, right? So that means to call a non-static method, we don't need an object, we can use a class name. Now with this static, we need to follow some rules. Let's say I want to print I want to assign the value of I here. If I say I equal to 4, you can see it's giving an error. Since we are declaring I here, we are getting some error. Error says cannot make a static reference to a non-static field. It's because this I is a non-static variable, and we are using that variable in a static block, which is not allowed. So in order to use a static variable, we need to create a static variable. So we have to convert that variable into a static, so that now you can access it. Clear? So these are the rules you have to follow. So static variables only works in static methods, and non-static variables only work in non-static methods. Clear? So this is your static and non-static methods.